Hi, welcome to the podcast. My name is Olivia, and I'm going to be your host. Here at Podcast, I think it's important to talk about a whole range of topics. So, for our first episode, our debut, we're going to be focusing on numbers. In front of me, I have a list of 25 numbers, and I'm going to be talking about them for you. Enjoy. So we're going to start with number 1. Number 1 is a pretty good number. I think of all the numbers, number 1 is the most number. Like, when you think of a number, I think number 1 just comes up pretty quickly. She's bold, she's consistent, and she's a trendsetter. For every number that comes after her, anytime you see a 1 starting it, you know that it's growing off her, right? And I think that's romantic. That's a very romantic notion. It makes sense that of all the numbers to be the first number, it would be her. So, I like 1. Then we get into number 2. Now, 2, to me, is not a very strong number, but what I like about 2 is that she doesn't take up more space than she needs to. 2 feels like a follower. 2 gives the energy of someone who was never meant to shine in the limelight as number 1. If 1 is the perfect 1, then I think 2 is the perfect 2. Her disgustingly round form, her hideous figure works well in relation to where she sits on the totem pole. 1 is perfectly straight, the straightest of her kind. There's no other number as straight as 1, while 3 is one of the most round numbers, second only to 0, which is not even a number. It's why we started with 1. So, to be this malformed middle ground between the two of them seems only natural. So I appreciate that of 2. I appreciate that 2 looks like if 1 was trying to turn into 3 but couldn't get there all the way yet. Like you took a picture at the wrong time. That's what 2 is. And I can appreciate that. So we're going to say that 2 is a solid 8 out of 10 for numbers. 1 is a 10 out of 10, but 2 is an 8 out of 10. Now we're going to move on to 3. 3 is a pretty good number. I think 3 really takes the cake for one of the better numbers in the first 5 of the numbers. 3 doesn't feel like a 3, but when you look at 3, you cannot possibly imagine another number that could be 3. Does that make sense? Everything about her gives I was meant to be here. Even if you don't necessarily agree that she's the best for the job, you can't imagine another person who could do this job. I look at 3, and I look at her perfect curves, and how she herself makes, almost in the negative space of her curves, her own shape again, mirrored within herself. I think that's very romantic. I think, similar to 1, 3 is perfectly adjusted to her role. I think 3 wants to be more, but she does not need to be. 3 longs to be 1. Third place longs to be first place. You're so close to the top and yet you're not there. There's something in between you and that spot, and you see it and you want it. 3 just made the cut, and she's very conscious of that, and it makes her very uncomfortable. But the thing about 3 and the thing about thirds is that someone needs to come in third place, or there's really no need for a second place, and God knows there's no 1 without a 3 there to hold her up. It's the pyramid, right? So, having said all this, I think while 3 gives this overwhelming anxiety over what she may be, and this discomfort with the fact that she is not higher up, I do think that 3 is holding her own. She may be uncomfortable, but we are not. No one gets a 3 and they're confused about what they got. No one gets a 3 and they're wondering, how did this happen? The math's not mathing. This number doesn't even lend itself well to the image that I'm creating in my head. 3 is the same as green in that you look at something green and you say, yeah. No, yeah, like that's exactly what that should look like. That's 3 to me. I look at something and I see 3 of them and I'm like, yeah. If I were to ascribe an arbitrary, ridiculous squiggle to this, that's what it would look like. So, on the chart of how I would rate 3, personally, I am going to have to take some points off because I don't really care for the anxiety. I think that's discomforting. But just for how strong she is, even with the points off, 3 is still 8 out of 10. Very strong contender, very strong contender. Would be higher if she had some more confidence. The self-doubt does take some points off, but, still a really great start. First 3 of the list, really strong. Okay, so on to the next one. Now we're on number 4. 4 to me, if I said 3 was anxious, 4 is just downright maddening. Okay, 4 has an identity issue. 4 can't decide what he wants to look like. Sometimes 4 wants to be open. Sometimes 4 wants to be accepted by the people in his circle, and sometimes 4 is very closed off, right? I don't know about you. When I write my 4s, it really depends on what I'm writing, who I'm writing to, what's the context, how do I feel that day. These little things decide, is the point closed or is it open? And I think that lack of definitive nature, the definitive way to write it, the correct way, is what's going to take some points off for 4. I don't appreciate that. You can only write 1 so many ways, right? You can write 2 with a squiggle at the end, and that's kind of fancy. That gives the illusion of class, but it's not. It's an accent. It's not anything special. 3, there's only one way to write 3. 4? Well, there's 2 ways to write 4. And I feel like in a system that is so fixed, a system that allows for so little change, having one of your core tenets, like one of the top 10 most important numbers maybe ever, be one that can be written multiple ways is inappropriate. It's frankly just like not the time or the place for it. And there's a lot of other numbers who would fight hard to have the spot that 4 has, and 4 is using that time to fuck around, and it's inappropriate. So, as someone who's very professional and takes this shit very seriously, I do not appreciate 4. Now, having said all that, though I think 4's conduct is just ridiculous, I'm woman enough to also say that 4 is incredibly competent. She comes to work, she does her damn job. Doesn't make it easy. Doesn't make it easy for anyone. It's not going to be fun. You're not clocking in and see 4 there and you're happy. No one's happy. No one's happy when 4 gets to work. But 4 comes to do his job. It occurs to me that 4 has perhaps changed pronouns multiple times. And I think that's just proof of, how infallible 4 is because of these 2 forms, What is it? He, she, maybe they? No, 4 is not giving they. 4 doesn't give they. 4 doesn't give non-binary, is the thing. That's the thing. 4 gives 2 forms, but it does not give androgynous. I'm not getting androgynous from 4. As you sit on it, I hope that you're seeing what I'm putting down. I don't think that 4 is someone of multiple planes. I don't think 4 has a lot of value. I don't think 4 has a lot of personality. I think 4 is competent, and I think 4 knows that it is competent, and it knows that you know that, and it knows that even when it fucks around in the office, it cannot be fired. It cannot be taken care of. You don't get rid of 4. 4 is one of those numbers that's like a bracket number. It ends really easily. A lot of things rely on it. That's because 2 relies so heavily on 4, and 4, uses 2 so expertly, but 4 does not respect your time. 4 switches up very quickly, both in how it looks and how it acts around other numbers. I can appreciate the fact that it's a very round number. 4 plus 4, 8. I like that. That's natural. That makes perfect sense to me. 2 4s would make an 8. We'll get to that later. But four is difficult. 4 has a difficult personality. And I don't love working with difficult people. It just makes everyone's life harder. 4 is the person that you get called into the office about with HR because you and 4 have been a little too chatty on the floor, and they're worried. They're starting to get worried because they've heard some complaints, some customer complaints. They just want you to look a bit more busy. And 4 is not capable of that. 4 isn't capable of looking busy with you, right? Where you look like you're talking, 4 looks like they're working. And that sort of lack of sportsmanship, that lack of professionalism, as I've said, is just very, very, very uncomfortable. I don't like it. So on the scale of usefulness, I'm going to give 4 an 8 out of 10. On the scale of personality, I'm going to give 4 like a 3 out of 10. Don't love it. Don't love her. Needs to make up their mind. He, she, they, it. We need to fix. We need to pick something. Because otherwise I'm just starting to get lost. 5. Oh gosh, 5. What to say about 5? 5's a good number. 5's a really good number. 5 is interesting to me because I don't think that he looks like a 5. I don't think when you look at a 5, you would initially assume that's a 5. He doesn't have that energy about him. You see a 5 and you might misconstrue how important he really is. You might undervalue him at first. You might overvalue him. Hard to do, mind you. He's quite important. But 5, while not looking like a 5 definitely has the building blocks of someone important. 5 looks like a guy who knows what's going on. 5 looks like the kind of guy, you go in a store, you see him next to you walking with his cart, you stop him, you say, hey, do you know what aisle the chips are on? And 5 would kind of look at you for a second, put his phone down and say, of course I do. You want me to walk you there? And he does. And he's right. And it's easy as anything. He doesn't even work there, but he just knows. Because he comes here, because he's always in the mix. 5 knows what's happening. 1 is the originator, but 5 is the true fellowship that is keeping things moving. 1 ensures that shit gets started, but 5 ensures that shit gets done. You need to cut something in half, that's nice. But when you're really starting to get into big numbers, 5 is always dependable. It's just one of those numbers. It always allows itself to be divided easily. I think it's compared to 4, deeply professional. You never go with 5 and you're worried that things aren't going to work out. 5's dependable, Maybe not the most fun in the world. I don't think he's a party guy. But you're in good hands when you're around 5. And I struggle to take points away from someone who may lack personality, but ultimately makes up in just how consistently there for you he is. There's not a lot to say about him. He's just like a really good guy. He's a good guy. He's a dependable guy. Not the kind of guy I want to bring to my parents' house necessarily. He's kind of boring. Like I said, nothing really to call home about. But he's the kind of guy that you definitely would bring to work. You'd bring him to a work event, and you wouldn't feel uncomfortable. Might get a laugh or two out of boss. It's okay. You wouldn't feel bad like hard launching him on your Insta. A soft launch almost feels a little too soft for 5. You don't want to soft launch a 5 because 5 isn't good enough to make people want to know more, but at the same time he's not bad enough, so you get their expectations high, like, oh, this is going to be really bad. But no, it's quite middling. So 5 is best when experienced all at once. Right? Yeah. Okay, so 6. 6 wants to be 3. Does that make sense? Follow me. 6 remembers being 3. 6 remembers that easier time and what it was like at a different point, and looks at 3 the same way that an older woman looks to a younger woman and wishes that she could leave like a nugget of wisdom to herself. But that time has long passed, and you are unable to talk to the you've already lived through. And that's how 6 feels about 3. 6 wants to go to 3 and hold her hand and say, you need to stop looking behind you and you need to start looking forward. Because everything behind you is beyond you. You merely just need to look forward into what's coming next, what you can do better. And I think that this advice isn't necessarily super helpful to 3. I don't think 3 would be receptive to it, but who in youth is receptive to anything that our elders could tell us? 6 longs to be understood. Similar to 3, 6 just longs to be seen and to be understood is important, but 6 falls short. 6 falls very short, and this misstep on her part is something that bothers her. She's known for very little. I think 6, her strongest point of reference just comes in regards to how easy she is to add to herself. Very round number, we love that. And her, slight iconography, Sinister 6. There's 6 the musical. That one wasn't very good though. I'm sure there's some other things with 6. Let's see. There was 6 days in the week. They got rid of that though. They added another one. So 6 months, that makes 12. Not great. Like, you see what I mean? It's just she always falls short. I just think 6 is, she wants to be a mentor figure very badly. She wants to look at 3. She wants to look at all the numbers before her and she wants to give them advice. But it's really hard to take advice from 6 because though she sounds sage and she sounds important, she ultimately says very little of value. And you look at her own life experiences and you say, well, who am I to take your advice when you hardly can live it, right? And it's kind of hard to say, but it's true. And I just don't think it's useful for anyone to ascribe to any advice that she may be dishing out unnecessarily. So we're going to give 6 a 5 out of 10. Very solid number. But just don't take any advice from her. I just don't. I think 6 has a Substack that she's very proud of, but she actually doesn't get that many readers. And her material is pretty weak, but it feels earnest for how weak the actual prose is. So, on to 7. This is going to be controversial, but I need to say it. 7 does not deserve the hype she gets. Here's my thought. 7 is deemed, quote unquote, the lucky number due to casinos and gambling and other avenues of sudden wealth acquisition without any actual work, just through means of addiction. And I don't know about you all, but I think addiction is bad and makes people sick. And the fact that 7 is so closely tied to such horrible things and yet has such a positive connotation is very odd to me. I think it's a misfire on our end to allow for 7 to be the lucky number when really everything that surrounds her is havoc. I want you to imagine 7 not as the amazing beauty who somehow has continuously brought good into the world through miraculous accidental means, but rather as the misfortuned, almost in a gothic way, serendipitous figure that continuously finds herself in bad scenarios. There's a saying from where I'm from, if you smell shit everywhere you go, then you might want to look on your shoe, and that's how I feel about 7. 7, I heard your house got broken into. That's horrible. That's really sad. They took a lot of stuff out. That sucks. Okay? Sure. 7, I heard you got fired from your job. That's terrible. Oh my gosh. For no reason? No, that's horrible. Yeah. I heard your car got stolen. Your car? Oh my god. 7, that's terrible. What a year. You've had a horrible year. Oh wow, 7, your boyfriend left you. Out of the blue? No, you didn't deserve that. Oh, okay. And your thesis didn't go well? Yeah, the board didn't like it. No, I mean, it's hard to get that first draft picked. Oh, you didn't get picked for that interview? Yeah. Do you notice how 7 is a victim? Nothing good follows 7. I think 7 is indicative of, victimhood. 7 is indicative of problems that follow someone. And 7 to me feels like the friend who has no other friends. So you talk to 7 and you're like, you're such a wonderful person. How is it possible that no one wants to be your friend? And the answer is, you just can't have friends like 7, because 7 wants you to recognize her for all the good that she's been told that she does, but she doesn't really bring good into anyone's life. She just takes, or works as a lightning rod for bad. And for some of the luckier numbers out there, which we'll talk about later, I think this isn't that big a deal, but 7 is not one of them. I don't think 7 should be a lucky number. I think 7 rather serves only to scare. I would say if there is any number deserving of the scariest number, it should go to 7. 7 just gives terrifying. I feel like where 7 goes, bad things follow, in all forms, in all ways. So I would caution anyone who has a particular affection for this number to please be careful and to please watch your back, because there's nothing good that comes of it. So 7, we're gonna rate 7 personality wise, just because 7's hard to trust. It's not a safe thing to be dealing with. We're gonna rate 7 a 2 out of 10. Structurally though, as a number, we're gonna rate 7 a 2 out of 10. Moving on to 8. I like 8. She's cute. She's simple. I don't think she looks how she sounds. I don't think 8 gives such a round disposition. She could probably afford to lose some weight. She's kind of top heavy, but she's kind of bottom heavy too. It's an insignificant difference. I'm personally not one for the weight loss movement. I understand that a lot of people think that that's just necessarily the inherent way to be healthy. I disagree. But 8's true to herself. She wants nothing more than her own. She's just very comfortable in how she is. I think that considering how 4 is, and considering 4's identity issues, it only makes sense that 2 4s together would make an 8. A closed circuit, 2 perfect circles in relation to each other, an infinity sign even, just a very artistic rendition of what 2 4s together would be. If 4 is a chatty, difficult person to work with, I think 8 is the kind of coworker that you hope is on shift. Not necessarily that 8 is good at their job, so much as 8 is dependable to make your shift better. Now, whatever that may mean to you, I think we've all had a coworker, it's like, oh, thank God, 8's here. I could really use an 8 shift. Yeah. If 8's here, I can work better. Does that mean 8's good? Not necessarily. Does that mean 8's bad? Of course not. It just means that 8 emboldens you. I think 8 is gorgeous. I don't think she's a good number. I don't think that 8 lends itself to counting well. I don't think that 8 lends itself to taking away well. I think it always makes very ugly numbers. I think 8 is just a kind of pantomiming as a number. It feels like it really should be a letter, if I'm going to be honest with you. Of all the numbers, 8 is the most letter to ever number. If I were to guess where 8 would go within the letters, I'm saying right at the brink of where we go from initial alphabet to middle alphabet. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, 8. Yeah. That fits. That works. So, 8's the letter of the numbers. Aesthetically, 8 is, I'm going to go 9 out of 10. Structurally, 2 out of 10. Not great. Don't love her. 9. Controversial take, I think 9 should be 7. I think 9 should be the lucky number. 9 gives luck. She's top heavy. She looks like a smile. You know, she's used for emoticons. That's romantic. She can hold herself up. Even with that big head of hers, she's holding herself up. She's bending a bit. That's not a crime. She's consistent. If anything, the only thing that changes about 9 is sometimes she's straighter than she usually is. That bend, that back of her, she can stand up when she needs to. You know, when shit gets serious, she's there. And I respect that. I like that about her. 9, not a lot to say. There's not a lot attributed to her. 9 is the 2 of the 10. 9 is to 10 as 2 is to 1. But that difference between them is a cavern. It is a tumultuous sea to cross. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's a lot. And while 2 is anxious and 2 so badly wants to nip at the heels of 1 and be 1, I think 9 is quite satisfied where she is. I think she doesn't long for 10 because she knows that everything past 10 starts to get incredibly obnoxious. And she understands that that is not a place that she is meant to go to. She's quite comfortable in her single digits. And as the final number of the single digits, I think she does a damn good job of finishing out the line. Of our single digits, I would trust no other number previously seen to wave us goodbye. 1 is the debut, and 9 as a final album is really good. Really good. I love 9. I trust 9. I think 9 should be lucky. 9 just, she so effortlessly feels like 9. Structurally, aesthetically. I feel like you walk into a room with a 9 there and you're like, yes. Oh, God. Finally someone human. You appreciate it. I have nothing else to say. She's wonderful. So I'm going to give 9 a 10 out of 10, structurally and aesthetically. And then we get to 10. Oh, number 10. 10, 10, 10. 10 is artistic for sure. 1 plus 0, usually that would only equal 1. And yet, here, it's a whole new number. Can you believe that? 10 feels lazy. 10 feels very lazy. 10 feels like someone who turned their assignment in last minute, but I'll be damned, it worked. It worked. I hate to say it, but it really did. 10 shouldn't work as well as it does. Mixing two numbers, as we're about to see going forward, shouldn't work. And it doesn't always. Sometimes it's cheap. Usually it's cheap. Sometimes it's insulting to see two numbers who were not meant to be together standing together. But 10, she does it effortlessly. I think it's because the 0 isn't supposed to come first, and yet, you know, it's effortless. I love 10. I don't think 10's a great number because it insists on always being in the front of our face, but I do think that 10 is great for aesthetic and great as a building block. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, exactly. I could keep going for hours. Counting's hard. Keeping track of all the numbers is hard. 10, never. So round. I think that 10 makes things easy for people on purpose because she knows she's a lot to handle. She knows she has a big personality. She knows she takes up a lot of room, but she doesn't shrink herself for people. She just makes it easy to access her, to be in her orbit. And I really appreciate that about her. In a list full of numbers with different personalities, 10 says, how can I make this easy for you? 10 comes to you when you're at a coffee shop, when you're working the till, and 10 says, what's your favorite drink? What's the easiest drink for you to make right now? 10 comes to the front when ordering something at a fast food place, and 10 says, let me get a large fry, and you say, we don't have any more large fry holders, I'm so sorry. And you're mad because it's such a stupid thing and your manager's going to be on your ass about it. But 10 just smiles like, you know what, just make it 2 smalls. Because it doesn't matter. It's all stupid to her. It doesn't matter because she's bigger than the program. 10 is allowed to be a bitch, but she's not. And I respect that. I respect that she's so responsible. So, Thank you, 10. So that is the end of our first 10 numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And to round us out, 10, we're going to say aesthetically, 10 is a 10 out of 10. And to say structurally, 10 is a 10 out of 10. So, fits perfectly. 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, naturally. We're about to start moving into some scary territory. So if you are driving, I do highly recommend that you pull over, because the numbers are only going to get weirder from here. If you're eating something, do swallow, because I just worry about you. Thank you. 11. 11, 11, 11. 11's been hijacked, I think. 11's been hijacked in that it feels bigger than it is. 11 feels insignificant. It feels like a very stupid number. I feel like I so seldom say 11 anything. What time is it? 11 o'clock. Okay, jackass. As if. What day is it? It's the 11th. Absolutely not. It is not. There's no way. 2011, nothing good happened in that year. Absolutely not. I can't imagine anything good came out of it. Considering 10 is so effortlessly perfect, you would think that 2 1s would make a perfect number. And in a way it does. I think aesthetically 11 is very strong, but she says nothing. She stands for nothing. She stands for nothing and no one. I do appreciate that 2 11s make 22. That's pretty. I like that. But 11 feels like one's decrepit mother who can't allow her to shine. So she must constantly reinforce that she was the prototype. Does that make sense? 11 gets a 3 out of 10 structurally, and 8 out of 10 aesthetically, just for the ease of access. 12. I don't like her. 2 out of 10 structurally, 1 out of 10 aesthetically. 13. 13 feels how 12 tastes to say. How many months are there in the year? Oh, 13. Okay. Does that make sense? Yeah. 12 and 13, they're just like, they don't really do anything for me. In fact, I'll go so far as to say, and this one, no one's going to like this, I think that 13 does not deserve the level of infamy that she's gotten, considering how weak she is. 12's a weak number. Everyone knows 12 is weak. 12's got some good bands. 12's got months. 12's got, months and months. But 13 has movies. 13 has a holiday. 13 has the act of being unlucky. 13 has horror associated with it. An entire genre based around horror, based around fear and deceit and terror and worry and anxiety. For 13, nothing about 13 is so intimidating that it would require all of that. No, I'm staunchly against 13 as our unlucky number. I think, like I said earlier, 7 is the unlucky number. 13 has no place there. 13's not great, don't get me wrong. It's an ugly number. It's a bad number. But it's no 7. I think 13 is insignificant. And to hide that inadequacy, she puts fear into others. It's very much the original story of the bully, right? The high school bully. They're jealous of you, so they're going to bully you. They're going to make your life difficult because they're jealous of what you have. And that's how 13 feels. 13 wants to be noticed, so she's loud, and she's scary, and she's uncomfortable to be around. When you walk past 13, you have to hold your purse because you're worried something will happen. 13's harmless. 13's not going to do anything to anyone. But we've let her convince us that she's more dangerous than she is. And frankly, I'm sick of it. I'm sick of pretending like anything she's doing is worthy of considering. There's no consideration to be given to her. She's not scary, and she can't fight. She definitely can't do that, for damn sure. She's not winning a fight. Don't be afraid of Friday the 13th. Because there's nothing to be afraid of. 2013, worse year than 2012 and 2011. Doesn't get worse than that, 2013. Next, 14. I like 14. I think she casts off some of the doubt that initially comes from 11, 12, and 13. Her progenitors. They're weak. She's not strong. Let me make that very clear. She's not strong. Most people in the 4s aren't that strong. But what she lacks in strength, she makes up in how unique she feels. She feels exotic in the same way that any single person of color feels exotic in a very white town. They themselves are not that interesting as people, but the shape of them, the look of them is so definitively different than anything else anyone has ever seen in that area that it automatically makes them more important than they really are. That's 14. 14 is the personality hire. 14 is the expat. 14 is the person coming in who, honestly, if you had it your way, you probably wouldn't have hired, but you like 14. 14's a good vibe. You wouldn't expect it, but 14's chill. I like 14. Structurally, don't care for her. I don't really care for any of these numbers. I think all of them, 11, 12, 13, 14, don't really love them structurally. Aesthetically, don't really love her either. But I feel like in her heart, she's got a lot going on. And if only because of how weak those before her are, I'm willing to give 14 a chance. No ratings for 14, 13, 12, 11. I just think that they're ill-deserving of them. No number fits such insignificant integers. 15. 15. 15 is the confused cousin of 10. 15 is the little sibling to the celebrity. Celebrities we love, they all have little siblings or siblings no one cares about. 15 wants to be the celebrity, wants to break out. Your favorite movie star, they have a sibling that probably has like a fragrance brand, or they have a podcast of little significance, or they have like a pan line, like a Tupperware line, or something else that makes no sense, and you would never think what does this person do? You hear 15 and you don't think, oh my god, yeah, you're 10's little brother, right? No, you don't think that. You think, oh, 15, damn, like you seem really familiar, where do I know that number from? Yeah. You would never connect the dots. But the resemblance is there, and I can respect that. I can respect that 15 is strong in that, you know, he comes from that family tree, the 5, the 10, 15, but he feels like a stepping stone. Very much middle child, very much not the oldest, not the youngest, not the favorite, not the least favorite, just kind of like forgotten in the shuffle. A stepping stone. Not a crime, not the worst thing in the world. It sucks to be that guy. So I feel for you, 15, I really do. Structurally, I'm going to give you a 4 out of 10. We can fix that, though. We can get better. Aesthetically, stay in your lane, we'll give you a 6. 6 out of 10. Yeah? Yeah, that feels fair. 16. I like 16. I like 16. I like 16. No notes. 4 out of 10 on both accounts, structurally, aesthetically. 17. I love 17. I'm going to be honest, I'm a biased judge. 17 is my birthday. I am on the 17th. So I think it's a great, very sophisticated number. Now, while 7, I think, is the unluckiest number and the evilest number, I think 17 is sophisticated. 17 to me gives the sophistication of someone who grew up in the dirt, got out of it, and now they're making it their life goal to never go back. It gives old money. It gives someone who had it rough, but they hit it while the going was hot, and now for the rest of maybe forever, until their children are dragged through the streets and held by their necks with twine for the blood money they have taken from everyone else, like leeches on skin, 17 will always be that girl. She is porcelain. She is alabaster. She is marble. She is fine china. She smells good. You know, you walk by 17 and you're like, oh gosh, what is that? What did I just smell? Oh my god, that smells amazing. You don't know if it's perfume or if it's her hair. It might be her sweat. It's just too consistent. And she always smells good. The same kind of good. Every time you pass by her, it smells good. She has her nails done. Almond. They clink against the glass when she taps it. Sometimes she'll click her pen too many times, but she's stimming, but it's almost erotic. You're just into her. She's not that hot, you're just into her. But that just makes her hotter, frankly. Aesthetically, 10 out of 10. Structurally, 0 out of 10. 17's a very ugly number to count with. Hate it. She's not good for what she's meant for. Horrible in her position, but by God, is she fun to be around. She makes you want to try harder, because you look at 17 and you're like, God, she's horrible at her job. But if she can do it, I can fucking do it. 17's important to the ecosystem of a workplace. We love 17. 18. You know, I'm looking at 18 here. I'm staring at her pretty hard. She's not really pulling anything from me. I just think she's kind of an odd number. I don't know. I mean, compared to the simple perfection of her contemporary, her predecessor, maybe, she just feels very busy, you know. The infinity sign and then a 1 next to it. Okay, which is it? Are you infinity or are you 1 plus infinity? Pick one. Don't love it. Don't love it. Aesthetically, we're going to give it a 4 out of 10. Structurally, bad number. Everything in this row, basically, save 1 is a bad number. 1 out of 10. I'm sorry, 18. I'm sorry. 19. This row is hard. It's hard. There's a lot of personality to go around, and yet nothing really lands. 19 feels like when you grab for a drink and you thought you had a full gulp left, but it's really like a sip. 19 feels like when you tap a glass and it doesn't make like the hollow glass sound you wanted it to make. 19 is expectations falling short. 19 is you wanting more and never getting it. 19 is the setup. 19 at best is the setup. You meet 19 and you're like, okay, well, whoever comes next has to be better. You have to be better than that. Structurally, 1 out of 10. Miserable fucking number to count with. Aesthetically, 4 out of 10. But you know what? Great setup. Leads me perfectly into 20. The real twin sister of 10. Perfect. Amazing. Life-changing. 20, 40. Whatever comes after 40. It's the 2s, you know? It's just one of those bracket base counting systems. I love it. It's 10 but better. 10 but faster. More efficient. I didn't think 10 could get better, but it can. 20. Double it. 20 feels like second puberty. 20 feels like 2 came into her own, and she realized she doesn't need to be 1. She can be herself. And she's damn good. 20 gives 35 with a good career, no kids. 20 gives A-lister, finally got it together, finally got money, finally got life to live. 20 gives life is good again. It gives airport seats, lots of leg room, Biscoff cookies on the flight, a wallet with a metal chain, a zipper that's made of metal, not plastic, leather seats, warm water. 20 success. We love 20. 10 out of 10. Both categories. No notes. 21. She's funny. I like 21. That might be my age showing, but she's entertaining. You listen to 21, you laugh. You can't help but laugh. I like 21. Not a great structural number. She doesn't lend herself well to the moment. She's always a little behind. But she's a good time when she's here. You know, you're never at a party with 21 and you're like bored. 21 insists on having a good time. You go out with 21, you know you're going to have a good time. No question there. Don't think she's that smart. I like her though. I think she'd be really good to watch a movie with that you don't really care about, and she doesn't really care about, but she talks about it like she cares about it, and you can respect that. She's a good time, you know? Good house guest. Always brings something over. You usually don't like it. Brings cheap wine or a dessert that doesn't taste that good. But, you know, it's the thought that counts, and honestly, her company's good enough that you're not too pissed about it. 21, we're going to give structurally, I'm thinking like a 2 out of 10. She doesn't lend herself well to counting. But aesthetically, she's pretty. She's gorgeous. Great smile. 9 out of 10. 22. Let me just get out the way. Structurally, very strong. Very strong. Another one of those 2s lends itself very, very well to counting. We're going to say 22. Solid 7 out of 10, you know. I think 22 very quickly starts to get overwhelmed when you're counting with her. I think she can only kind of stay within her own range, and she's very strong there. But she doesn't do well with triple digits. Very good in double, not triple. Her rounder counterparts, the 10s, the 20s, 30s, those are good. Those are good at triples. They lend themselves well to triples. The 5s, triples. That family is made for triples, quadruples, sextuples, so on and so forth. The 2s aren't great. The bigger it is, the more 2 get lost. 2s are wonderful rafts. 5s are haulers. They're cruises. You're meant to be on those for a long time, and they can take up space, they can take a beating. 2s cannot. Don't love it. 22. Yeah, structurally, you know, pretty low. I can respect how easy it is to count with her initially, but she very quickly kind of gets overwhelmed. So we're gonna say 22 is a 3 out of 10. Aesthetically, though, oh my god, 9 out of 10. She's gorgeous. Beautiful. Double D, you know, something like that. 23. Insignificant. It's a number no one's thought about in their whole lives. You could be born on the 23rd. You haven't thought about it, I'm sure. You probably don't celebrate it until the 24th. Or maybe the 22nd. It always just falls on a weird day. Structurally, 1 out of 10. Aesthetically, 1 out of 10. Ugly number. 24. Now that's a date. Now that's a damn date. When were you born? The 24th. Oh, that's a good date. When's your interview? The 24th. Yeah, I bet it is. It just feels like a date. It feels like a time on the calendar. 24 days in a month. 24 hours on a clock. 24 minutes in an hour. 24 seconds in a minute. It's all there. She just is a unit of measurement onto her own. I wish she was a little bit bigger, though. I think if we added 1 to her, she'd be perfect. So we're going to give 24 structurally 1 out of 10, because I don't like counting with her. She doesn't lend herself well to counting. She's a very stupid number. But aesthetically, 9 out of 10. Not perfect, but close. And then we have 25. Oh, 25. Talk about a builder. Of all the builders, you're one of the buildiest. The building, even. 25, 50, 75, 100. That's close to God, baby. You know, that's real damn good. She's consistent in that it takes 4 of her to do anything. I like that. I like that she's a team player. She doesn't go anywhere without her girls. She brings the people up below her with her. I love it. You love to see it. You hate when women forget themselves in their success. And there's something to be said about the importance of self-actualization, even in the face of, you know, leaving behind your past. And that's a necessary evil when it comes to growth. But 25 does not believe in that. 25 believes in both growing herself and her community. 25 gets money and puts it back into the community. 25 made $100,000 last year, and instead of spending all that on just self-investment or stock, she actually put about $50,000 into her town's YMCA program. And that may not be something that the entire town feels necessarily, but the children who are utilizing that program got to have free lunches for a month, right? They got on a whole new playground. The pool got fixed. It's in working order now. Bathrooms redone. They have a mural on the wall. They haven't had a mural in years. 25 believes in community and believes in bringing everything in with you in success. Success is only as important as the people you have with you. She cannot do anything alone. 25 longs for community, and by God does she bring it with her. And I think that's beautiful. I think that she's just incredible. And if I had to pick someone to be on my team, it would be 25. Because I know, you know, if she makes it, I'm in there. And I'm selfish enough to say that I could really use that. Okay, well, that was all the numbers of importance from 1 to 25 rated.